Hey, welcome back, Coast to Coast podcast. Me and Tori, episode 30. Can you believe it?
Yes, I can. No, I can't. I don't know.
Episode.
That's a good number. That's a good number.
Yeah. That's all I got.
Yeah, it's good. Good start to the season. I think we're kind of in a different zone this show. We're both in a little bit lighter zone just because of hockey's back, baby.
Yeah.
Stuff to watch, stuff to do, get excited about. Obviously, from the fantasy perspective, which is check out our other show if you want to tune into that. Um, I'm I'm super pumped. What games did you watch last night?
I watched the Vancouver game, of course. Some of the Leaf game, the Penguins game. I tried to get a little bit of every game, but didn't really get to every single one. But yeah, I was right in there watching the games. Just excited to be betting on sports, watching sports, talking sports.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you win any money last night?
I went 1-0 on my picks, so yeah.
What's
So
your pick?
Philly over the Penguins.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
That's you betting against your boys too.
There's no loyalty in betting.
That's true.
That's what you got to bet with
Just
the numbers.
fogs it.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm a fan of whoever's my money's on that night, or then it's Vegas, then it's Penguins, and then it's yeah.
Whoever comes
But
next after that. Is that what you're getting at with the Chicago and Detroit and Winnipeg was betting lines you wanted to bring up?
no,
Or is that something completely different?
I just think it's exciting to see some new rivalries that could potentially be formed throughout the league this season. I know we do talk about this before the new division system, but just seeing Chicago, Detroit, I put them specifically because they're original six teams, both of them, and now they're different conferences. When Detroit left the West, they used to be in the West, but then they left. Just getting that renewed rivalry there, I really like that. The other
Mm,
rivalry that I put on there was Winnipeg and Calgary, and that's just more that they're going to be playing each other a lot. They're playing each other to open the season for 2 games at least, might be 3, but I'm pretty sure it's 2. Um, and they went hard at each other in the playoffs last year. I don't.
mhm.
It was only a few months ago, but we quickly forget some of these storylines that were in the NHL. So with Kachuk and the injury
Yeah.
he potentially caused, had the Jets fans all up in arms and everything, right? So it's going to be excited about that. I also heard that there's possibly a betting line coming out about whether the Kachuk brothers will fight each other. They're just trying to work out
Yeah.
what classifies as a fight, I guess.
Okay.
So that'll be interesting to see. Just keep an eye out on that, I guess. They do play each other, what, 10
I
games,
feel
9
like
games?
I feel like they will go at each other and like almost for the cameras and like
Hmm.
it will pan back to them and there'll be some winks and like face offs will be a little tap on the butt and probably some choice words between the brothers and stuff like that, but I give it at least half the season before they actually drop them, just because specifically Brady knows how valuable he is, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Senators internally in their locker room are kind of us against the world right now. I'm
Hmm.
not sure if you saw their photos come out, the
No.
Senators yearly photos.
Go ahead, sorry.
The team photos are kind of goofy looking. Like they
Hmm.
just have them kind of sitting in weird positions and like zoomed up on their foreheads. Like it almost looks like they're aliens sitting there. They're kind of just like, it's like, what are you doing? Like that's so unnatural. But like everyone was kind of making fun of them the other day. Yesterday, I guess it was. And it's just kind of like I feel like everyone's put Ottawa dead last.
Yep.
We're
I
kind of
put them
making
dead
fun of
last.
them.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, like I do think Ottawa's over the long haul will end up, being the bottom team of this group. But one key injury to any of the other teams opens the door for them to move up.
Hmm. I think this could potentially be one of the best things that ever happened to Ottawa because they're that bottom team. No matter what happens right now, they're kind of like last in the division. So every night
Mhm.
they're going to be playing someone better than them.
Yeah,
How else do you get better in a league as good as this? You play the better players. So
especially as kids, younger guys trying to find their way.
Yeah, exactly. And so when we go back to a regular schedule, when you're playing some of the teams like in the West and like the Central even has a few weak teams, like just rolling through there, then they're gonna be picking up the points that they would have had trouble in the past
Yeah,
easily.
that's true. And that means that they might not be, the 29th worst team when the dust settles because they just couldn't collect enough points.
Yeah.
They might be statistically the worst team and get one of the best picks or at least have the best odds towards a pick. And honestly, as a Leaf fan who pays attention to prospects and like the up and coming players and stuff like that, I'm like borderline getting worried about the Senators.
Yeah.
Being a really good team for a few years. All they need now is another top pick in a really powerful draft, especially for big, powerful defensemen. There's a couple really strong guys that are like being compared kind of like to your Petrangelos or to your Hedmans, like your big
Okay.
bill
Yeah.
active type guys. And it's just like that's all they need with what they already have with the couple physical players. They already have Keystone in their foundation. That's all they need is another number one franchise, player that just makes them that much better. Like within a year, calendar year, Senators are not going to be a fun team to play against. They're going to be a nightmare to play against.
They're gonna be fun to watch though. I'm
Yes.
excited to see some of their games, and I think we talked about this earlier. I laid a bet on Stunsel, or I don't even know how to pronounce his name, and I'm bet.
Stutzel?
Yeah, I don't even know how to pronounce
Tim
his name,
Stutzel.
and I'm betting on him. So plus 800.
Yeah.
And that part of that is because I think he's gonna be like Ottawa's gonna have an opportunity to put up a lot of points just because of the way this division is. And
Yeah.
like you said, they're gonna be worse, but they might sometimes look to the amount of points on these guys, and if he wins points, then he might win.
It will, but they were talking about this the other day on the radio, and one good point they brought up was basically that a lot of the time with prospects, it's just a matter of the spotlight you can obtain.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you're playing behind another spotlight, often you get overlooked. So he was just saying, I think there's going to be so much attention in Ottawa on Brady Tkachuk and the Dadanovs and like these other pieces that come in that I don't think, or that he was saying that he didn't think Stutzel would get enough opportunities because those opportunities will be used up by Tkachuk and these other guys. Where like a Lafreniere, Lafreniere is going to get the chances. A guy like Shesterkin, he's going to be in the net. So like he's going to be there to get the opportunities to get your attention or to be like, hey, did you see what he did last night and get the talk going? That's why I mentioned to you when we were briefly talking off air about prospects and stuff. I looked through the list of them, and to me, there's really no picks outside the top three. So Shesterkin, Lafreniere, and Kaprizov. If I had to pick one or two guys outside of that list, it would be Stutzel and Zegras out of Anaheim. And what I said about Zegras is that there's a lot of nice pieces in Anaheim, but he's a very flashy player. He's one of those players that always knows where the camera is. So he could score a highlight reel goal, look dead in the camera and wink at it. And like, I'm just using that as an example. So that personality where somebody connects with that, all of a sudden you ask them for a vote, that's what pops up first, right? And he gets these votes of flash as opposed to he's actually the best player. No, he made me talk about him most because it's like basketball, guys that dunk, right?
Yeah.
Like guys that dunk, they're on the highlight reel all the time. How often do you see a nice defensive play or something like that on there, right? So it's just, that might be something that helps his case, but I feel like what they were saying about Stutzel, like if somebody's going to explode, it's probably Stutzel. Like who's in the best opportunity with the best support and the best opportunity to just go out there and do what you do and not have pressure? Absolutely, it's him. But I just feel like opportunity-wise, I'm a bit worried for that bet. I do think he should be in the conversation when the season ends. He should be one of the rookies of the year. But
let's hope so.
See.
Let's hope so. 8-1. I couldn't resist, so I went for it.
It's a good bet.
Maybe it should be 6-1 or 7-1. Like it just feels like there's some value there.
Yeah.
All right.
As well, right? How much did you put down on it?
100.
If you care to disclose.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
100 houses. What?
A small community.
Yeah. So.
That's funny. So, did you want to talk on Evander Kane?
Yeah, while we're talking about gambling, what a good segue to
Exactly.
first of all, always do it responsibly. Don't listen to me when I make jokes about betting your houses and stuff. Don't do that. And yeah, just do it responsibly, and you'll have a good time.
Absolutely. But with Evander Kane, I think
Yeah,
it's interesting because I was when we first talked about it off air, I was more interested in like how it was going to affect the team and the cap and like the ripple effect on everything and how if he basically they're talking that if he plays this season, every paycheck he gets is going to go straight to this bankruptcy thing, so he'll be playing the season for free. He'll also be risking of being away from his family. He'll be risking of putting himself in injury positions,
yep,
potentially career ending. Who knows, right?
for
Or
nothing.
you basically have your contract voided. You have no commitments, including stuff like signing autographs or like appearances or things like that that may be written within one's contract that we would obviously never know, right? But you get rid of all those commitments and you get paid nothing, or you risk all these things for whatever. And I feel like for the Sharks, that could have potentially been a savior. Like Peter Kane's a
Yeah,
really good player. If all of a sudden, oof, there's a contract in the cap world just gone, that's of huge help. Like,
yeah, and yeah,
I don't know.
I'm and everywhere he's been, he's kind of been that problem player. So I'm sure aside from that contract, just having him out of the dressing room there probably is a benefit to the team.
Yeah.
Just based on the the story we're told about him, unfortunately, seems to have that
I mean, I
follow him.
remember as a Leaf fan, because of the Jays, I brought that up. I was wrong when I first brought it up to the chat group, but just about I thought he was at a Drake concert or something like that, but it was actually a Blue Jays playoff game, and he and Carlo Koliakovo and one other guy, I can't remember who it is off the top of my head, took a personal helicopter from I believe Buffalo to Toronto to watch the Jays game, and then they went somewhere else the following day, and then they were late for their games returning. Koliakovo wasn't in the lineup, but Evander Kane was. So they basically got in a lot of trouble, and it was just for me, it was concerning at that time to see somebody. For me, I'm very much like in sports, team sports specifically, I'm very much about the team. So like if you show up late, if you disrespect the team, if you do stuff like that, I have no time for you. So it's just kind of like if you don't show up for an important game because you were too busy partying last night, just don't show up. You're
Yeah,
suspended today. Just don't come to the rink. Come back tomorrow's a new day. We'll deal with that tomorrow. You're not coming to the rink today. You're not playing. Talk tonight. That's kind of how I would deal with it. So it's just like concerning to me that you have a player like that who was an up and coming player, believed he may have been better than he actually is, and talking a bit of smack. But I don't know. I think in the end, everything kind of comes around. And like, I
yep,
mean, we don't know for sure the true story and all that other stuff. But I mean, if he is that irresponsible, it's nice to see that there's no special treatment on athletes because they're just like you and I, especially in today's world. Like
they're
nobody should get
susceptible,
special
just like
treatment just because of that, right? So not excuse me, not that I like to see people's livelihoods and stuff like that get embarrassed and stuff like that. And I'm not really trying to talk poorly about the guy, but I'm just speaking matter of fact about what he kind of looks like from outside. And if I
yeah,
was responsible for building a team, I just would stay away from it.
yeah.
Talent, you could be the best player in the league. It's like James Harden in basketball. Like I just would stay away from it.
So does he play another game in the NHL?
Vander Kane,
Yeah,
I believe he's playing tonight, is he not?
is he?
I believe he is.
I'm shocked.
The Sharks came out. The Sharks came out and said that basically they're not supporting what talk is out there. They're not commenting. Basically, they're not feeding into it.
Okay,
But to me,
I didn't hear
that
that.
screams like to me that screams legality. That screams I don't want to say something that's going to put myself in a situation. There's legal ramifications. Can't say nothing.
That's
See
funny
what
because
happens.
like I just assumed he wasn't gonna play because like why would he play? Kind of like what you were
Yeah,
saying. Why is he playing? But again, I don't know how bankruptcy law works and stuff. So
I don't really either. but I know that he doesn't get paid.
He's gonna
I know
get
that
paid
his paycheck
some
goes
though.
straight from the Sharks to the bank, so
He gets something. He gets a tiny
I don't think
percentage,
so.
I think. I do.
That's what they were talking about
Oh,
back
really?
in the day with Jack Johnson with his issues. I mean, I know that's slightly different because his parents were basically manipulating him for money, but basically he had some amount of debt owed, and he basically said at one season he played, I don't remember the year, but 1 year he played, he said he didn't make a dime. He
Damn.
played for free. So again, you think about that. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. If you didn't play, you owe the money, but then you're also risking, like, what if you break your leg
Yeah.
and you never get a contract again? Also, like, you're done. Like, you're being paid nothing to risk your body. It's an interesting position to be in.
Yeah, I'm gonna
I
have to
would not
look
want to be in
deep.
there.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look deeper into some of that shit because I was just assuming he wasn't playing, but it looks like he is. Like you're right. I was kind of.
I assumed he wasn't either, and then I was talking to, I believe it was Nick, and he said no. It sounds like the Sharks are supporting it, and then I kind of on the good old Google machine and looked for some information,
Weird.
and yeah, they basically said that to be determined. The Sharks expect him to play, and they're not going to comment at this time, and we'll see what the future brings. It's basically a paraphrase of what they said. So
Cool.
I
All right. What else did you wanna touch on? Just
see that you have Babcock listed here.
Oh, Babcock. Yeah. I guess I was wanted to hear your like Leafs take on him. Like he's going to be an analyst. Now he's I guess not a job as a coach, which I don't know. I just guess I didn't see him taking that route. I always thought his next job again would be a coach, but maybe he has to go this route.
That's the way I view it. I view it like a lot of bad talk was around Babcock and how he kind of fucked with people's careers in the past. And I believe that there's a lot of people that are hesitant to put him in a position with their young stars and potentially impact them. Like it's like a assault or whatever the other word is. I'm thinking like there's a lasting effect on it. It's more than just the event, right? Like it's a ripple effect that's going to affect confidence, affect all of
Yeah.
those things. So it's just like the best comment I've heard on it yet is that they said, okay, you know how usually during analysts they ask like, oh, if you were in this situation, how would you address this? Or if your boys came to you and asked this, how would you talk to them?
Yeah.
They said, okay, there's a controversy in your dressing room, and you need to address your team. How would you go about doing that? That would give Babcock a perfect opportunity to showcase his new
he's kind of
mindset.
interviewing for it in a way.
Exactly. And like I think he needs this platform to come out and apologize, take responsibility, potentially provide clarity.
Yep.
And then show that he's changed. And if he can't do that in the spotlight, now, I mean, to sidetrack one quick second, Mike Milbury's not a great human, in my opinion. So, like, the bar of replacing him is very low. So, like, you could get a donkey to do it and they'd do a better job. I mean, we don't need that sexist, misogynistic garbage
for sure,
sport.
For sure.
So, I mean, anything's better than that. So, I mean, Babcock's not going to be worse, but it will be interesting. Those personal, those insight type questions from the coach's perspective, like put yourself in this young kid's room. What are you going to do with them? Brady Tkachuk fights too much. How would you address with him to tell him to calm down? He doesn't need to fight all the time and stuff or like you have a veteran in your lineup and he's approaching, whatever, and he comes to you and he says he has these concerns.
What about this? Do you think they're trying him out to be the new coach's corner? He's a coach. Corner.
No, I think Brian Burke is a better suited
but he's not
person for that. That's why I don't think that you need a coach's corner. I think that you do need something, but
corner, I guess.
I would much rather listen to Burke speak than almost any other person because
Really?
he has insight. Yes, he has so much insight. He's been in a lot of different positions. He has a very, I believe, misguided appearance. Like, I believe people think he's like this old school, brash asshole, really.
Yeah.
Where, like, I think a lot of people overlook the fact that I believe one of his sons passed away at an early age. I know one of his other sons is part of the Pride community. So, like,
Mhm.
he is always in support of that. So, like, not that that really changes anything, but, like, I feel like people don't give him the benefit of the doubt because of the way he looks and talks and brings information to the table. And they think that he just is just a dick. I actually think what he has to say is very legitimate because he's been in the roles.
He's
He
seen it.
has contacts. He's been a scout. He still has scout friends. So, like, it's not just him being like, I think this guy sucks. It's because he talks to 12 guys on a regular, maybe 3 scouts, a couple GMs that follow the team, that watch them play 48 games live and actually have
Yeah.
valid insight. It's not his own, but he takes it in. And, like, if he basically says, like, if I have 13 people telling me that this guy's better than the other guy, I might believe otherwise, but there's something
To look
telling
at.
me that 13 other people like something different. So, like, just stuff like that, I just feel like he would bring a lot more insight to people who care about the sport from a different perspective, from
Okay.
more of a manager's role or more of a whatever. And, like you said, it's not a coach,
Mm. Mhm.
but I feel like you don't need that. Maybe
We're next
I feel
level.
like, yeah, that's my say on it. Like, I don't think Babcock's really going to bring much. Like,
Cool.
he'll bring some insight. When I coached 500 NHL games, I typically tended to do this. Yeah, that's great, cool. But, like, I'm more interested. Are you interested in becoming a coach again? And if you are, I need you to take responsibility and I need you to provide some insight on your side of the story. And if he comes out, like, and says, like, hey, look, I would like to address this person specifically. I fucked up. I
Do you
did
think he's
this. And,
gonna
like,
do that?
I don't,
Yeah.
but I do believe he does owe some people some sort of, I'll call it an apology, but, like, some sort of um sign showing that he understands it wasn't right and that he needs to be different. I personally need to see that before I would ever let him in another dressing room again. Like, he's almost like an old school abusive coach, which we moved past that in the 90s. Like,
Yeah.
you're 10, 15 years past where your best before date should have been. And we've already got rid of a lot of those other guys in the league who had problems with their own demons and stuff like that. And it's, if you're not willing to come to the party and say I fucked up and I need to, change my ways, I'm not interested in anything you have to say about hockey.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so.
I'm totally on board with you there. Totally on board. All right, we're deep in the thick of second night of the NHL and tons of games, first games of the season for teams. Any specific game you got your eye on tonight?
Honestly, I will just blanket statement this anytime that there's a Canadian division matchup going on.
Mhm.
Excuse me, I probably will be watching
Two of them.
that. Um, yeah,
Two.
behind that, I always tend to go to my fantasy guys.
Me too.
So,
Yeah.
like, I will look up, not necessarily like want to watch this guy, but I'll look at good matchups where, like, maybe I have 2 or 3 guys in one game. So I
Yep.
can be like, okay, I got this forward, that defenseman, and this goalie. And it gives me kind of something to watch. Um, and I also, like, I then go to, like, really good goalie matchups. I love watching good goalies play. So, like, I probably won't be watching a lot of Chicago games this year. I love Chicago. I bought a Chicago jersey in the background here. I love Chicago, but I won't be watching a lot of their
Yeah. I
maybe
don't
towards
blame
the
you.
end when Taves comes back and stuff. But
Maybe.
goaltending is going to be atrocious, and they're going to get beat up a lot. And I'm just a little bit worried for the Blackhawks fans. I think it's going to be a long season, which is why I believe Evander Kane is going to be traded.
Really?
Maybe not this season, but in the off season.
Okay.
I think there's going to be an insane amount of trades after expansion,
Okay.
/ including, like, during expansion, because I believe it's the weekend after the conclusion of the season. So, like, within 10 days of the cup being awarded, the expansion draft, and then the following weekend is the entry draft, and then the following weekend is free agency.
Could they leave? I guess they wouldn't want to leave him exposed because then you're trading him for nothing.
Yeah. but you could, yeah, you could do all kinds of weird stuff. But I just feel like Seattle's not going to draft that well. I don't think they're going to be that great of a team.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of teams are more focused on let's get through expansion and then we can
Make our move.
really do what we want to do. Yeah. So I feel like expansion, depending, some teams will be like, hey, I can fit that guy. Here's the fit. We'll do it now. But I think a lot of teams will be like, okay, we got through expansion. This is the guy we lost. Where do we want to go from here? There's no more expansion, like clean sheet. Where do we want to look at ourselves in 2 years from now and really build towards that? So I think there's going to be a lot of, my fifth defenseman prospect that I kind of like, that I don't love. Give me your top forward prospect so that you can keep them. And like there's gonna be a lot of weird stuff where it's just like, and I think that what supports that is just looking at the waivers, all the guys that were put on waivers at the start of the year. Like there's a lot of intriguing names on there.
That's a good point.
We didn't.
I was just saying we didn't touch really on waivers and what.
Didn't. No. There's a lot of guys. I almost feel like the managers were almost kind of like somewhat of a gentleman's agreement. Like, let's not go silly and just like claim guys left, right, and center. Like, if you need a guy, claim him. Like, you claim a guy if there's quarantine, he sits there, you play him 3 games, you put him back on waivers, then like you basically will ruin that guy's career, right? He's on the ice for a week, he's off the ice for 2 weeks, he's on the ice, like new teammates here, new goal, new expectation. Like it's going to be the PA stands. Yeah, the PA stands up for everybody, right? Like it's not just the top guys. They try to stand up for the greater favor of the players, right? So you got to think any situation that any of the players are being affected, screwed in poor situations like that, PA is going to have something to say.
Definitely when they're already making tremendous sacrifices in certain ways already this season to be able to play for these owners.
A lot of the waiver guys too, if you look at their contracts, they're bigger contracts. So a lot of teams will be like, nah, I don't want them now. But then you got to remember on re-entry waivers, there's 50% off. So you send them down, they clear waivers. You call them back up on re-entry waivers. And if you want them, you claim them, you get them at 50% of their contract. And the team that owned them first pays the other 50% of their contract for the remainder of that year, as long as they stay on that roster.
That's a thing where you get
it's always been a thing.
As you're getting called back up.
So if you get sent down at the beginning of the year, so I'll use Louis Eriksson, for example, because they were talking about him as an example. You send Louis Eriksson down at whatever his cap is, you call him back up, somebody claims him on the way up, then he gets 50% off. So if he stays on the team for the rest of this year, Vancouver would pay half of his cap on the active cap, and then the other team would pay half of his cap. But then at the end of that year, let's say he's got 4 more years on his contract, that assuming team assumes the full contract to start the following year.
Oh, okay. So they get half off for the rest of the season.
So it's only valuable on maybe somebody who's expiring. You look at a lot of the guys who are expiring. I'll use Leo Komarov as example. We all know Leo Komarov's a pretty good grinder. He may not fit in every lineup, but come playoff time, if he's one of your taxi squad guys, that's a pretty good situation. There's also a lot of teams that are like $1 under the cap. Wait till some injuries happen and stuff like that. Change the game. I don't know. It's hard to say at this point.
Yeah. Well, we're on day 2, so it's only gonna get crazier from here, and I'm excited to take this journey with you. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be so fun.
Yeah, man. All right. Anything else you want to touch on?
No, I think that's it. I want to get back to some hockey. I don't know about you.
Too. But yeah, I'm fiending. I'm getting ready to watch this Detroit comeback. You heard it here first.
Oh shit.
All right, man.